Picture the janitor arriving at 4 a.m. to clean corporate offices before the executives arrive, or the nurse working double shifts to keep patients alive while hospital administrators collect bonuses from their corner offices. Across every industry and society, we witness the same troubling paradox. Those who labor most intensively often earn the least, while those who seem to contribute less tangible value accumulate the greatest rewards. This contradiction strikes at the heart of what Friedrich Nietzsche identified as one of modern civilization's most pernicious myths: the lie of moral labor. The conventional narrative tells us that hard work equals moral virtue, and moral virtue should lead to material success. This story permeates everything from religious doctrine to political rhetoric, creating a comforting fiction that the universe operates according to just principles. Yet Nietzsche, with his characteristic hammer-blow honesty, shattered this illusion by revealing how power structures manipulate our understanding of value, work, and worth. In Beyond Good and Evil, Nietzsche argued that our moral categories are not eternal truths but rather constructions that serve particular interests. The elevation of hard work to moral status represents what he called a slave morality, a value system that convinces the powerless that their suffering has meaning while simultaneously justifying their continued exploitation. When we praise the dignity of labor or celebrate honest work, we participate in an elaborate deception that benefits those who profit from others' toil. Consider how this plays out in practice. Society celebrates the farmer who works from dawn to dusk, the factory worker who sacrifices their body to machinery, the teacher who spends their own money on classroom supplies. We call them heroes, salt of the earth, the backbone of society. Yet these same heroes struggle to afford healthcare, housing, or education for their children. Meanwhile, financial traders who produce nothing tangible, consultants who shuffle existing ideas, and investors who simply own things accumulate wealth that would take these moral laborers multiple lifetimes to earn. Nietzsche understood that this inversion of values serves a crucial function for those in power by convincing workers that their poverty reflects moral superiority rather than systemic exploitation. The powerful avoid having to justify why they consume so much while contributing so little. The myth of moral labor transforms victims into volunteers, making exploitation appear as a form of spiritual purification. This dynamic becomes even more insidious when we examine how physical versus intellectual labor is valued. Jobs requiring intense physical exertion, immediate presence, and tangible skills, construction, cleaning, caregiving, manufacturing, consistently pay less than roles involving abstract manipulation of symbols, numbers, or concepts. A hedge fund manager moving millions with a few keystrokes earns more in a day than a construction worker builds in a year, despite the obvious difference in immediate social utility. Nietzsche's concept of the will to power helps explain this phenomenon. Those who accumulate wealth and status do so not through moral superiority or harder work, but through strategic positioning within systems that amplify their influence. They understand that power comes from controlling the means of value creation and distribution, not from participating in the actual creation itself. The hardest workers remain trapped in roles where their output is easily measured and replaced, while the highest earners position themselves as indispensable coordinators of others' efforts. The technology sector provides a perfect contemporary example: the engineers who actually build the software, the content moderators who keep platforms safe, the delivery drivers who fulfill promises. These workers face constant pressure, surveillance, and replacement. Yet the executives who own the platforms, despite contributing no direct labor, capture the vast majority of value created by others' work. They've positioned themselves as the brains of the operation while treating actual workers as replaceable components. Educational systems perpetuate this lie by teaching children that effort equals reward, that good grades lead to good jobs, that playing by the rules guarantees success. These lessons prepare students to accept their eventual position in hierarchies where their labor will be extracted by those who learned different lessons: how to manipulate systems, accumulate capital, and leverage others' work. The hardest working. Students often become the hardest working employees, trapped in a cycle where their conscientiousness becomes their limitation. Nietzsche's critique extends beyond economics to the psychological damage inflicted by moral labor ideology. When hard workers fail to achieve material success, they're taught to blame themselves rather than question the system. They internalize shame for not working hard enough, smart enough, or strategically enough. This self-blame prevents collective action and maintains existing power structures by convincing the exploited that they deserve their fate. The modern gig economy represents the logical extreme of this dynamic. Drivers, delivery workers, and freelancers bear all the risks and costs of their labor, while platforms extract value from their every transaction. These workers are celebrated as entrepreneurs and independent contractors, language that disguises exploitation as opportunity. They work harder and longer than traditional employees while earning less and receiving no benefits, all while being told they're empowered by this arrangement. Breaking free from the lie of moral labor requires what Nietzsche called a revaluation of values. Instead of accepting that hard work inherently deserves reward, we must examine who benefits from this belief system. Instead of praising workers for their suffering, we should question why such suffering is necessary. Instead of celebrating the dignity of low-paid labor, we should demand that dignity be reflected in compensation. This doesn't mean abandoning work ethic or effort, but rather refusing to conflate labor with moral worth. The janitor cleaning offices isn't morally superior to the CEO, but neither is the CEO morally superior to the janitor. Their different positions reflect power dynamics, historical accidents, and systemic structures rather than inherent virtue or vice. Recognition of this truth opens possibilities for genuine change. When we stop treating poverty as a moral failing and wealth as a moral achievement, we can focus on creating systems that distribute resources based on human need rather than the ability to extract value from others' work. The hardest workers earn the least, not because they lack virtue, but because they operate within systems designed to channel their output upward to those who contribute less but control more. Nietzsche's hammer strikes not to destroy the possibility of meaningful work, but to shatter the illusions that prevent us from creating truly just relationships between effort and reward. Only by abandoning the lie of moral labor can we build societies where hard work actually leads to the dignity and prosperity it supposedly represents.